seagulls follow the trawl, it's because they think sardines will be thrown into the sea. Thank you.
Nobody cares, mate.
Nobody cares, mate. Nobody fucking cares, mate, honestly.
And the guy's talking absolute nonsense. Never heard so much rubbish in my life.
Normal men.
What do you mean, normal men?
We're just innocent men.
I'm telling you, don't back down, double down. Don't back down, double down.
Yes, ladies and gentlemen, welcome along. It is the T.N.F. It is Thursday night. This is 2 weeks in a row now that Phil has had to step into the driving seat on the T.N.F. So do not be confused. It is not Friday and it is not Bustalgia night. It's definitely Thursday. And tonight it's all about your comments, folks. We'll be looking to get lots of interaction with you guys because we need all the subjects that we can at the moment to talk about. Because, the news at the moment is still pretty much status quo for the last few days. One of the reasons why Russell's took a night off tonight because he's done a Tuesday show, he's done a Wednesday show, and obviously 3 nights in a row of talking about sort of same transfer links and so forth. You know, he thought, no, Phil, you can step in tonight. He's got a few things he's going to sort as well. So I'm more than happy to step in, especially when you look at the team that is around me. We've obviously got David Logue, first and foremost. How are you doing, mate?
I'm doing very well. Thanks again for getting me to come on. Looking forward to chatting some Celtic with Steve-O on the screen tonight, which I've not done yet. So looking forward to that.
Yes, indeed. Steve-O's ticking off the bingo card. So you've done PMP, you've done a Sunday Sesh, you've done Bustalgia, you've now done T.N.F, mate. You're getting round, mate. But T.N.F debut tonight, my man. How you doing?
I'm spot on. It's a good day of the week. I always like the interaction with folk putting across their points and them getting discussed a wee bit more. Because, I mean, we obviously try to get comments in as much as we can. But when folk are asking direct, it's a lot more fun, isn't it?
Exactly.
Can upset some folk, probably. I don't know.
We might, you know. It's all about opinions on the bus. We don't always agree with everybody and so forth, but that's what makes it. It's not an echo chamber around here, folks. So, yeah, be sure to just get your comments in once the floodgates are opened. And also, he's a favourite on a Thursday night. He's just fresh off of recording another episode of Judgment Day. It is indeed Mark Kearney, the judge. How you doing, mate?
I'm doing very well, Phil. Thanks for asking. How are you, mate?
I am doing absolutely fine, mate. I am smashing and I'm rearing to go, mate. This is going to be
good.
So before we go any further, of course, as a designated driver tonight, again, I'll just do all the good stuff that help the channel out massively. So, of course, if you wish to hit that like button, that would be absolutely fantastic. It will help with the old algorithm and spread the word of the bus out there and people's suggested videos when they log on to YouTube. If they've got an interest in Celtic, we will pop up in the related videos, hopefully. Obviously, as I say tonight, comments, do get involved in them massively, because it's all about you guys tonight. We'll be coming to you very, very soon. Obviously, share the link of the Bhoycie Bus on any social media platforms that you wish. And, of course, if you are a brand new subscriber, you've just stumbled across this channel, welcome aboard. Where you've been all our lives. You know what you can do that will keep us in your life? You can hit that subscribe button, and then we will grace your YouTube inbox on the regular, and you will not regret it. You will not regret it at all. So, guys, let's get into it then, because obviously the last 2 nights we've had a Tuesday club, a Monday club on a Tuesday. There was a breakfast bar yesterday, and obviously the topics have pretty much been about, Giakoumakis and so forth, the Willie Won't We. So I think it's only right that his name be involved in the first one, because the very first comment in front of Kieran got this one in actually quite early. I don't know when he put it in, because I put the link up for the show maybe like last night. So this could have been sitting in the chat for about 24 hours for all I know. But hey, he's keen. I like it. So he's just saying, I'm really unhappy with O. His goals to game ratio is pitiful. Hopefully it works out and he's perfect for Andrew's system, etc. But I feel like we fumbled Zeus for a project player. I'll have my say on this one first. First thing I'm saying on this, I remember, with me and South Korean in 21, he's got to serve a year. Is it a year of national service?
2 years, I'm sure, Phil.
2 years.
You've got to take that into consideration as well. And also regarding goal ratio, Giakoumakis didn't have a good goal ratio till the one season before he joined us. He was a bit of a journeyman, and it looks like he's going to continue to be a journeyman because his exit seems to be imminent. And also just like in general regarding all signings, we don't know how it's going to go. I say Kieran said here, he hopes it works out. We all do. But all these signings that are coming in, we're going with the unknown here. There's a lot of things we don't know about many of the markets that Anne just tapped into. The track record he's got so far shows that they tend to work out pretty well, and hopefully O falls into that category as well. But we were the same with Giakoumakis when he joined. He had one amazing season in the Dutch league the year before, but there was no guarantees that he was going to come into Scotland and do well. When he got his chance, he did, and sadly it looks like it's about to come to an end. But my first feeling reading that comment is I say it's going to be fine. I'm quite confident, I'm hedging my bets we're going to be all right with this one. David, what about yourself? What's your early feelings here?
Yeah, I'm excited about him, if I'm being honest. I can understand Kieran's concern in this. Obviously, there's been a few comments out there that's raised concern about his age, his price tag, where he's come from, what his experience in obviously Champions League, which doesn't exist. I just feel maybe the goalposts have moved slightly in the last 18 months, because if we compare his transfer to a certain Lil Abada, they're almost identical. Abada was younger at 19 when we signed him, and we signed him for 3 million. He'd only had one cap at international level, just kind of on the verge of making his international sort of career, starting to take off. He's the young upcoming talent from his country, and he hit the ground running. There was no word of prospect or project player mentioned when he signed, and he obviously burst into the scene on his debut and scored, which was, and look what he's kind of got on to now. So when you look at 21-year-old, one international cap, would have been in the World Cup if it wasn't for the fact a certain son managed just to make it in time, or else he'd have been on the plane to Qatar as well. So he's obviously on the verge of hopefully getting more international caps, and he's obviously looking like he might be doing that, moving to a European side. But like you say, Phil, it's a gamble whoever we sign in terms of are they going to manage to make it at the next level in terms of scoring in Europe. We can only wait and see. But I get the concern. We're potentially losing Giakoumakis, most likely losing Giakoumakis, who obviously has got a proven goal scoring record for Celtic. But when you look at the stature and the physique and everything, and then, like you said, obviously we're going by YouTube clips. There does seem to be very much a lot of similarities to his style of play, and the most important thing, I think, is that he wants to be here. And Ange obviously is very keen to have got him in, and Ange has put his heart on his sleeve a wee bit with the comments I think he's made on the old signing. Like, apparently we were interested in signing him in September, and Ange was a bit antsy that we weren't going to get him, and he was expecting him to be the first signing in the door even before Alistair Johnson, from what we've heard from Ange. So he's keen to get him in. He obviously has a lot of confidence in him. So I'm feeling fairly confident and optimistic about him as well, which I'm sure most Celtic fans are, but I do understand the concerns that people have.
Well, Steve, will come to you just again to further add to the point about any concerns. We've signed players over the years that are established names that we know, and it doesn't always work out. In fact, I think you'd said to me before an idea for a Bustalgia episode further down the pipeline is like guys that we signed. There's a lot of promise behind them, maybe like a big name player, and it just didn't quite work out. So, as David says there, it's a gamble. Every signing's a gamble, whether they're an established player or they're not. It's a risk we're taking.
No, I think, going on what the guys commented on, to say he's unhappy, everyone's entitled to an opinion. There's no right or wrong there. What I would say is I think it's very pessimistic and we've got to look at the facts. In terms of his goal-to-game ratio, firstly, there's his age, as we well know. Secondly, there's also the fact that his service, which is going to minimise the time that he's been playing actively. And thirdly, he's playing for a really poor team. Now, take that as you find it, but Ange was right to point out that he scored very important goals and a fair amount of goals, probably more than would be expected for a player playing at that type of team who are creating limited chances and by all accounts are pretty much scrapping and their backs to the wall the majority of games. So you've got to take it in isolation and say that he's essentially now been the difference of where they are to where they could have been. Another thing I would just briefly say is, I've said this before when we've spoken about certain players, you're also paying, the price comes with paying for potential. Abada's a key point in looking at his age and, his demographics of where he's at and how much he costs. Has that raised a few eyebrows? But you're paying for potential, and we have been lucky with some of the guys that we've got from the J League 1. And I just think they're looking at him and saying, if it wasn't for him, we'd be in a bad spot. That's probably why the price is a wee bit more, because they really probably can't afford to lose him. So, take everything as you find it. But I think putting him into a team like us, with more ball possession, more chances created, judge him after a good few games there when he's getting the chances put to him. It's unfair to say that about a guy who's playing a team that are creating few chances. It's like signing a guy for St Mirren.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So take it as you find it. But no, I think, listen, all the comments that Ange just said, you've got to take it that he is fitting the bill and he sees what he sees in him, and that can only add to the team. So I have no reservations on it. But as with any signing, I'll judge it a few games, a few months down the line.
Aye, and Mark, going on what Steve said there about chances and so forth, and this comment I've got up on screen from Ali, do you think we will see this Sunday at Tannadice and he will get his first chance, or do you think it's going to be a few games in before he does get his chance? Because again, we won't learn anything about these players if they're just going to come in and sit in the stands and sit in the bench and so forth. We need to see this player get his chance and see what he can bring to the table. So do you see him stepping in at some point this Sunday, getting on the park, or do you think it's going to be a couple of weeks down the line?
Well, first of all, I think if you're looking for established players to come to Celtic, you end up with insomnia. You'll not sleep at night because we just don't buy them. The only established players we get are guys who are playing for shit teams like Hibs. We don't go into European markets and bring in established strikers for Europe, for Champions League teams. In fact, I can't remember the last time we bought a player at a decent age who had Champions League history behind them. You know what I mean? We just don't sign them. Celtic as a club, where we're at just now, is we need to buy players with potential. And this guy has got potential. I mean, every player deserves a chance to come in and prove himself, whether that's 5 games or 10 games. You can make a decision on how he's going to be. That's up to you, but you need to give the guy at least some game time. Now, I understand reservations, first of all, because every player's a gamble, whether it's a £1 million player or £10 million player. Money doesn't always buy you the player that the price tag suggests. So that can work both ways. It can work. I think you should always go a bit further to buy the player you really want, but you can also also spend ridiculous money on bad players like Barkas and Ayeti. It happens. You asked a question you asked me, Phil, do I think he'll get game time on Sunday? I'm not entirely sure. I think when you've apart from Angie's first month or two in the job when he had to put players in straight away, I know Maeda came in straight away as well, but in Hatate, I think we've evolved a wee bit since then. I think you will see him on the bench, but I don't think there's any great rush by Ange to bring a guy in. I think he's 21-year-old. You see he's played he's done his 2 years community service. God's sake, sounds like a Rangers player now. Done his 2 years national service, right? Fuck, it's like Joey Barton. Fuck, he's done community service, isn't he? Robert, like what a tit that guy is. But so he's actually, the amount of games that guy's played at a professional level will probably be quite minimal. So you can only take his goals record just now. You can take that as face value. Steve says, park that to one side. He's played he's signed for Celtic now. He's got to be coming to a level of squad that he's never experienced before. Even in international duty, he's probably experienced a depth of squad at this standard before. So that'll raise his game. Ange makes any player better. It doesn't matter what level you're at, he will make you better. So this guy's career's only going to go up the way. He's only going to get better. And fans are 100% within their rights to judge any signing. I'm all for it. I mean, I judge people game to game, and that's your right as a football fan. I mean, you're that passionate about something, you're going to have opinions. Your opinions are going to be strong. If you've not got strong opinions on the club, then you're probably not a big supporter of the club. You know what I mean? You're supposed to be passionate, and that makes you nervous. You know what I mean? You start to panic when you see players that you love going out and sign players that you've never heard of. But let's give this guy a chance. As David said, he was a kick in the arse away for getting a game in the World Cup there, only because Son, he managed to pull through his fitness. He was on the plane. In fact, I think he mentioned him. So he was quite pivotal for the World Cup squad, you know what I mean, and the work he did. I actually think there was stories about him getting some of the bonus money they all got back. That was kind of poo-pooed by Son. I think he ended up saying that he got a big thank you by the squad anyway for what he did and the help he gave Son. But again, just quickly finish off, I think reservations are fine. Give the guy a chance. I hadn't heard of Giakoumakis before. He'd only scored a handful of goals, and he managed to tear it up in Scotland. And I think he'll tear it up his next place and all. And let's see this guy play. He looks young, he looks enthusiastic, and he looks like an Ange type striker, i.e. Giakoumakis as a second choice or an other choice striker.
Yeah. Well, there's a few comments that are coming in from Gary Brown just saying apparently O is the player Ange was always wanting. And my namesake, Ryan McGinley, says that O was scouted back in September, first and foremost. Ange is keen and we know how good his eye is for a player, no doubt about it. Also, embarrassingly, I've only just discovered that on StreamYard I can actually favourite a comment, which makes it so helpful when I'm doing the T.N.F, because now I can scroll back to comments that I quite liked. I thought I'll need to come back to that one. So I'm going to come to this, because obviously we're talking about Giakoumakis and O and so forth. So, of course, who else is going to go out, if any? So a few names here getting thrown at us by Michael Mitchell. You think Ange will look to move on some players before the end of the window, thinking like some McCarthy, Welsh, Abelgard. Can't see them being involved in any teams or squads going forward. Well, yeah, I agree on that. I don't see them being involved in much at all. Abelgard, I think that was at the start of January. There was talk that he was about to have his loan cut short.
Right.
I think Gucci as well, Phil. He's supposed to go in January the 1st.
Yeah, he's still around.
He's like that mole on Michael Beale's face. He just no go over it.
I guess I had to Gucci, another one that's just no really got a chance. He got that bad injury against Alola, and then ever since then he's not been able to get in. And the amount of midfielders that Ange just brought in, no wonder we're absolutely stacked in the middle. But Abelgard, I don't see much chance for him. Welsh, say it quietly around the judge, but I think Welsh will now be staying now that Jens has had his loan cut short. It's always optimal to have 4 centre backs. If you play 4 at the back, have 2 that start and 2 backups. I think Welsh's place is safe at the end with the squad till the end of the season at least. And McCarthy, well, he is a bit of an anomaly. Like what is going on with McCarthy? Again, there's this whole he ticks a box for the European squad, so he's worth keeping around for that, which is a bit tragic if that's the case. It's kind of stifling him. You know, at this stage, he could be going and playing football somewhere on the regular, or he could just sit and pick up a pay packet and just be ticked on a list every year on when we send our UEFA squad in. I mean, I don't think he's getting much game time. Again, go back to what I said a few seconds ago, David, we're so stacked in midfielders, but out of the 3, as I say, Welsh I think is safe, but Abelgard and McCarthy can do whatever they want with them. And I can't think of many others I can see getting cut at this stage, because even though January has, as usual, felt like an absolutely super long month, we are coming to the end of it now. There's only 5 or 6 days left. So the January window will be closing soon as well. It's felt like it's dragged on, but I can't see many surprises leaving at this stage unless it's a fringe player like those ones.
No,
I mean, I saw the Club Brugge have called back Jack Henry from that Italian side. So there's a centre half now become available in a sort of mediocre Italian side. So maybe Welsh will get picked up by them. They seem to like the Scottish talent, the Italians for some reason. Apparently that Deutsch is about to get a 9 million move away for the Italian side that he's signed from. I've seen today. It's madness, absolutely madness. Yeah, I know. I could. So maybe Welsh might find himself out on loan, maybe, or I don't see him being moved on permanently. I mean, we turned down a deal from I can't remember which Italian team it was. Was it Udinese?
Udinese, and I think Toulouse from France also inquired at some point. That's in
flabbergasting with that.
So whether maybe you could ask to, if you're not needing me, you clearly, you kept me here and you're not really using me now, and you've got that some obviously. But then again, of course, that's Jens away as well. So that's a hard one, actually, isn't it? Abelgard, I mean, he's just taking up a shirt. I'm afraid I don't understand that signing whatsoever. I don't know if Ange's just been told, listen, we've got a guy here that's available. Do you want him for backup? And he's went, aye, cool. We need somebody for cover Giakoumakis, and he's got him in the training. And I went, nah. All right. We cut that one short. We got the receipt on that one. So maybe most likely, if out of the three that's been mentioned there, Abelgard's the most likely to maybe to get sent back. But the problem is he going to get to go back to Rubin Kazan? Because obviously the carry on that's going on out there, it might not be a case of actually, well, look, we can't actually take you back. We've got this postponement on your contract. You can't come back to us. You're going to have to almost bunny hop over us to get to another club. Whereas, Jens went back to Lorient and then went to Schalke. I think that might be a bit of a stumbling block. If I don't know what the political side of that kind of contract would be, but that might be a stumbling block.
Because it was a story like a month ago about Abelgard was getting sent back, and it's still no happened. So maybe there is some kind of issue right now with getting that sorted. But yeah, just to back up on the Abelgard thing as well, Steve, I think it shows massively that Cal McGregor was injured for 12, 13 games. And a guy who plays that position didn't even start a single one. The only game time he got was on the night McGregor got injured against Leipzig. He gets sent on that night to play, but I think that speaks volumes that he would happily play Matt O'Reilly there than Abelgard, didn't it?
I mean, absolutely. He's a bit of a weird one. And it comes back to my thoughts on what I said of some of these signings. I do genuinely believe that some of these signings that we've seen come in, whether they've been good, bad, or different, are guys that are basically fit a player profile. And they've been looked at, whether it's videos, stats, whatever, and Ange's made a decision on it. And probably considering that he was essentially a free agent with this postponement on his contract. And I dare say he little to no offers. He's sitting there, probably fits a profile, and I'm just surmising here. I don't know what he makes, but it's probably not a lot of money. You're like, right, we need that right now. We'll take that, and it's just not worked out. So it's probably been low risk in terms of the money involved with it, and that's why we've got him in, and it's just not panned out for him. But I would expect him to leave. A bit strange. He is essentially a free agent, so it shouldn't be too much a stumbling block to say, look, you're not going to get any game time here. If you can find yourself something, on you go. In terms of some of the other names that come up there, I agree. McCarthy's probably the most hardest to get rid of because he's still injured, probably on a decent wage, happy to sit it out. And then guys like Welsh and whatnot, again, I think there's more chance of him going at the end of the season as opposed to January. But, I saw some of the comments coming up there. There's a plethora, absolute bin juice that you could just get rid of. I mean, if it was that easy, I would just get in with one of the big industrial bins and just throw players in it. Be getting Bain in there, get him chucked in because he's garbage and all. So a Yeti, Johnson, they've been a bill over phone. If it was me.
I'd forgot about guys like Sorrow and stuff like that. They're only on loan, so they would be expected back in the summer, and it's like, oh no.
I mean, listen, I think there's certain guys that I think, Sorrow being one of them, that you could write after contracts, right? Let's be honest. Everybody likes Sorrow because he gives you the thumbs up and it's a cracking smile, right? But he's garbage at football, right? He's terrible. He's one of the worst. And he probably wakes up every morning like Bain, looks in the mirror and thinks, I play for Celtic, this is fucking brilliant. How did I get away with this? Do you know what I mean? Whereas I think guys like him, you could basically take them aside, go, all the best. It's not going to work. We're buying you out. But guys like your McCarthy and that, with a bit more about them, a bit more pedigree and probably a better wage, they're harder to move on. So, time will tell, but I think there's a lot of guys that are all overdue. So probably summer's going to be the big clear-out part 2, isn't it?
I would think so. And Mark, is this comment from Antonios Vorias says, well, Water coming in, I think it was a figurative coffin nail for Abelgard, because there's one as well that we forget. We've brought him in at Water, so hopefully he's going to be starting games very, very soon. We can see what he's all about. But in terms of players going out, Mark, I think we covered all the ones that, all the squad filler that can go, that's surplus to requirement. I don't see any, in the 11th hour here, like a first team player, suddenly a bid coming in from nowhere for like an Abada or something like that at the 11th hour. It would just be, if anyone's going out, it's going to just be squad filler.
Okay, it'll be all the horse shit that goes, you have guys like, I think Abelgard, they're looking for another loan for him. I've read that a couple of times. To try to pass him on to somebody else. There's no backers as far as I'm concerned. That's what Big Kanzan's saying. They're just saying that it's your problem now. I think there are a few players in the squad that I think might go before the end of the window. I think Jens was probably Jens and Juranovic, but Jens in particular was one that surprised me. So I thought Hero stuck around, but we got Kobayashi and I thought, well, one of them's got to go, and Jens when they get a lot of game time, so it just stacked up that he would go. Scott Bain, I disagree with Steve a wee bit. That's the guy who won a treble at Celtic. He was the first choice keeper for Celtic, won a treble, get clean sheets at Ibrox, won 4 or 5 derbies match. That's up to you, mate. Won 4 or 5 derby matches for Celtic and played really well for Celtic for a season. He only got dropped when they got in Fraser Foster. So the guy is, I don't really know what happened that he became rotten overnight, because he was a decent keeper for Celtic. At the time he was number 1 choice. I think Fraser Foster was just far too good for him to ever be considered an option anymore. And if you look at the second choice keeper, I think that's Seagrist. I think he's had 2 injuries already, so you don't know how good his injury record could be. He might have something underlying. I think Scott Bain, unless we get somebody else in, Scott Bain's going to lie there. I think Scott Bain's probably covering about 7, 8, 10 grand a week. I don't think he's going to bust the bank. And he's got first team experience. He's played probably 50 games for Celtic roughly. I need to get that checked out for me. But so he's a more steady pair of hands than bringing in that young boy Ofalabi, is it? The boy that
he's out on loan anyway.
He's went to loan to Shamrock Rovers or something. But I'm talking next season. But Steve, I'm saying if you're going to get rid of a player like Bain, you're going to replace him with somebody who's played first team football for Celtic. I don't think you can rely on a 19-year-old or 20-year-old in case the worst happens. Happens.
I agree with that. I agree with that. But sorry to interject here. The only anytime you ever hear Scott Bain talking about these days, it's all, he's a brilliant influencer in the dressing room. I don't want a guy to be getting paid just to be everybody's pal.
Yeah.
Right. So he's pretty much all right. With Seagrist picking up an injury, it puts him a wee bit more in the frame. But ask yourself, really, where's he been?
No, that's exactly
the 74 appearances for Celtic. 74 appearances.
Well, the thing is, David, see when you're a goalkeeper, it's not like you're a striker. You can have a goalkeeper who's a really good keeper.
38 clean sheets.
And he can make how many?
38.
That's not bad. That's 1 every 2. So you're talking, a goalkeeper is such a unique position that you could play 10 years as a backup keeper and play 40 games. That's realistic. So you need something to happen, a bit of luck, an injury, somebody to be sold. As I said, he was the first choice keeper under Brendan Rodgers. In my opinion, the best manager I've seen at Celtic. Some will say Martin O'Neill, but I think Rodgers was that bit above him. And he picked him and he signed him. He signed some dross as well, don't get me wrong, but he thought he was okay to be number 1 for Celtic. I think he had a lot of flaws in his game. I'm not saying he's a great keeper by any stretch of the imagination. I'm not an idiot, but the guy's played. He won a treble for Celtic as a first choice keeper. As I said, he's been Ibrox and won. He's played in Europe. He's won dominated. He's been in dominant Celtic teams that haven't lost matches for 30, 40 games in a row. He's been there. You know what I mean? And I think if you look for backup keepers, I don't think there's anything wrong with having somebody within that unique position that you can fling into a time capsule and say, do you know what? all right, you've got many pictures, you've got many moments at Celtic where you're dodgy, but I'm not worried about your temperament, your composure at a place like that. You've been there before, maybe 10 times in your career. You're able to do it without being phased. If your defence is on their game, you probably won't have much to do. And I think he's capable of doing that. Do I think that young boy would come back even the new or summertime and have that same first team experience and playing in front of 60,000 fans, 50,000 fans, miss kicking a ball in the full stadium, moaning at you, then having the brain and having the character to stand up 5 minutes later and make a point blank save? No, I don't. We've seen Scott Bain do that, and that's some of the things that some fans forget that part of his game, because he did make a lot of good saves for Celtic. He wasn't a total dump when he's full time. I think he was all right.
He's had plenty of call-ups to the national team. He's only made 3 appearances though, but he has always been in and around the national team.
He's not Dublin, David. You know what I mean? He's no a Diddy. You know what I mean? The guy's definitely hit. A goalkeeper isn't like a striker who's getting 15, 20 appearances a season. You could be a very decent goalkeeper and no get a game for 10 months. And if you come in and drop a cross, or you come in and be half a yard too slow and you've lost a goal against a nippy striker, that goes against your CV and it goes against the fans' look on you. He was dropped at Celtic, not for bad performances. He was dropped at Celtic because they signed Fraser Forster, and there's nobody in my lifetime that's ever going to get a game in front of Fraser Forster.
Yeah, he's when Forster came back in, there was no hope for Bain. Plus, there was the game just before he rejoined where we played Cluj in that Champions League qualifier, and I think he had a bit of a mare that night, although most of the team had a mare that night. Most of the team were strong. But
I think when he first came in the first instance, we were just desperate.
We signed him for nothing at Hibs, Jackie, but he was a
Rogers needed a keeper, and he bought a guy who was on loan at Hibs from Dundee that turned up, signed in his Hibs trackie. That's how desperate the signing was at the material time. Now, I agree to an extent with that's what opinions are, right? Yeah. All I'm saying is, in the long term, all right, his wages might not be astronomical, but in the long term, for me, he's not good enough. And he won trebles, absolutely, and he's had clean sheets. But the optics have slightly changed.
I mean, it's not good enough to be a first-team goalkeeper now.
We were swashbuckling and slamming teams back then. The goalposts have slightly changed. It's a wee bit more nip and tuck right now, and I don't trust him to be the goalkeeper in the nip and tuck situations. As do I not, I think, all right, he's a young guy, but the boy's been on loan. For what I've seen of him in the B team, I don't think he looks like he's anywhere near it for a long time. So, and Siegrist, again, I don't think Siegrist's a great goalkeeper. So I think we actually need a proper number 2 / number 1 come summer.
I think we will sign a keeper in summertime. I think. I hope on ranks. I do like Joe Hart. I think the last couple of games he's showed what he's made of. I think a couple of saves he's made. A crucial save at Kilmarnock in the cup semi-final particularly was pretty good that night. I think a lot of fans look at Joe Hart and they're waiting for him to make a mistake. They're waiting for that dodgy moment. I said it before. I see every time he's out of position, every time he's flat a back pass, that is on Ange Postecoglou. That is on the Celtic setup. That is categorically the position that he's been told to stand in, the area of the park that he's told to pass the ball to. If he just lumps the ball 50 yards every time the ball comes to his feet, he'll be dropped within a couple of weeks. He knows that. I think Joe Hart's been a very calming influence in that defence. I mean, we needed a keeper that has experience and all the rest of it last season. He came in and did a brilliant job. I don't think Scott Bain's new way of moved on to another level is going to be first choice keeper. I'm not going to convince anybody that that's the case. I don't think we've got a first choice keeper in our squad except Joe Hart. Siegrist, I felt like last season that United was a good keeper. I do like the guy. Whether he's good enough to be Celtic's number 1, I don't think so. We'll need to go and sign somebody else. I think that's the case.
I think he's better than Bain. I think he fills the void of the number 3, and with the number 2 / future number 1.
Number 2, mate. He is number 2.
I said this to Bhoycie and a few before. See, with the goalie, I just think it should be. Folk don't like it, and what I think long term. I think see what we've done with Joe Hart. I think that's the kind of market and the sort of stature we should be looking at. Looking down to whether it's Championship team, even a team abroad, or English Premier League. They've always got usually 3 banging goalkeepers, and one of them, if not, it'll be somebody with vast experience like Hart. And Drew says you're a goalkeeper, you can basically sit in your arse. It takes you less time to get up to speed. Get a guy who's well experienced, rotate him every 2 years, maybe 3 at a push, Get them for next to nothing, like Hart, decent wages, plenty of experience, and just rotate the goalkeeper. I don't think we need to think long term for a goalie. That's personally what I would do, rather than going and buying a Siegrist or buying a Bain and hoping it works out.
Well, I'll bring up this point now. Since we're on this topic of keepers and the backup ones, the Siegrist name's getting talked about a lot. I know Bhoycie's came in and had I was still debating who's the best Celtic number 3 goalkeeper. Jeez, he peeps, man. No. We'll move on to the number 2 keeper, because I think I said this a couple of weeks ago on one of the shows was Siegrist has only played 2 games so far this season, 2 cup games. So evidently early on it looked like Ange had made it very clear, right, when we play League Cup, Scottish Cup, whatever, Siegrist, you're going to play. Obviously, he got injured for the semi-final against Kilmarnock, and now we're in the League Cup final. So, David, would you have, if Siegrist is fit on the 26th of February, would you be playing him that day? Because we're not going to learn anything about Siegrist unless he's put in a position where he's going to be tested. Putting him in goal for a home game against, say, a St Johnstone, a random league game where he might have to stand around for 90 minutes, not have to do a thing. Now, keep in mind, last season we played Rangers in a Scottish Cup semi-final, and Van Bronckhorst made it clear that McLaughlin was his cup goalkeeper and played him in the semi-final. They beat us that day, unfortunately. But do you think there's a chance that Siegrist could come back in for the final? Because it looks to me like he was going to be the cup goalkeeper, just injury kept him out. Or even if Siegrist is fit for the final, do you think Joe Hart keeps that place?
If you're asking me if I would play him, if he was fit, and then yeah, I would play him. I mean, this boy is a proven goalkeeper in our league for years. He's pulled out really good saves against us in games that I've seen him. When he played for Dundee United, where a lot more shots were coming his way than they would be in a Celtic goal. I don't see why would you sign him if you're not going to trust him in a cup game. We've signed this guy to potentially be to displace Hart, which a lot of us felt that was the reason he was signed. You're not going to trust him in a cup game that we've been saying for a long time. Would you sacrifice a cup game for a better, longer run in Europe? Then, and I think a lot of people would say yes. Then, just play him if he's fit. The only issue is he hasn't been fit, and by the looks of it, he's gallivanting somewhere where he's misses on social media quite a lot. So I don't know if he would be in any sort of fit state to play. But if that wasn't the circumstance and he is fit to play, I would be playing him. I think he's a more than capable goalkeeper to be playing in a cup final against the Rangers side that we've been saying for a while hasn't looked their best lately.
Mm-hmm.
So I wouldn't be too concerned if Siegrist was to start that game. I think he's pulled off some brilliant shots, shot-stopper performances. So
he was good for Dundee. There was a game last season for Dundee United up at Tannadice against Rangers where he and the Dundee United defence were throwing himself in front of everything that day. It ended 1-1 where they just you're no scoring a winner.
It's not like he's never played against Rangers before.
No.
Phil. You know what I mean? It's not like it's this unknown entity that we've thrown in goals. It's never seen Rangers Football Club coming at them or any other team in the league. I don't see why we'd bother signing him if Ange can't trust him to play in a cup game.
That's true. I mean, a lot of people are coming in and are saying, Ange will go his first choice. To be fair, I agree, probably will. And there's other comments here like saying can't play Siegrist in a final if it's fit. But again, I'm just using an example where you look at them across the city last season where they stuck by their number 2 keeper, ended up winning the Scottish Cup, beating us along the way. So you can't pull it off. But I think personally, if we was playing Rangers, I think he will go with Hart even if Siegrist is fit. But then
probably will.
Where does Siegrist fit in? That's the thing. When is he going to get a chance? To say, Steve, we will not learn anything about this guy if he's just going to sit on the bench for the rest of the season, and maybe in the next season if he sticks around. I mean, what's the development for him at this stage in his career? When's he going to get a chance, if any? I mean,
again, it's sort of $1 million question. And again, no matter what take you put on this, it's going to be unpopular. It comes back to do you give guys a chance just because you feel you've got to, whether that's Siegrist is number 2, or whether it's the bring in the youth. Do you give them a game just to see what happens? I think there's maybe a time and a place. Like, do you bring them? Say you're playing a cup game and you're 3-0 up in the first half. Do you bring them on? Well, maybe. But I'm a great believer that if you're in doubt of certain folk, that's the time to play them when a game's out of sight. as opposed to gambling for the off. Unfortunately, we're a Celtic Football Club.
Yeah.
And no matter what way you want to look at it, folk are idealistic and I'll give youth a chance in that. But I guarantee you, if you go out and play 4 youth guys and Seagrass and goals and you get beat 2-1, you're a tit and everybody's raging. And that's unfortunately the cutthroat nature of the league and the team that we live in and operate in. I think he's signed for Celtic. Maybe he's had visions that I might get a chance, but the reality is I think he's going to be every other number 2, number 3 goalie. He's just going to sit there until there's an injury. And that's that, unfortunately.
What about yourself, Mark? How do you think that will go in the final? Do you think it will be Hart if Seagrass is still fit? Do you think he'll just stick with him? Or
it's not a question, Phil. It's got to be Joe Hart. You know what I mean? It would take a nuclear reactor to explode for Joe Hart not to play that much. Yeah, so,
I think we'd all be perishing in that case if that happened.
No, mate, even at that, I'd rather he crawled for the Ashes and went. The thing is, I think it's hypothetical. If you're asking me, would I be concerned about it? I probably wouldn't be because the keeper I've always liked. Actually, I was a wee bit concerned with how he was with the ball at his feet in his last start, but he's only going to evolve with that. Most goalkeepers aren't the football players. We all know that, and I think if defence is on their game at Celtic, the goalkeepers shouldn't need to do much. Rangers will have more chances than what other teams do because they're a higher level of team than anybody else in Scotland. There's no doubt about it. In terms of Celtic's opposition, that is, I mean. So they will get a lot of the ball and they will get chances. I think Joe Hart is obviously number 1, but hypothetically, would I be concerned? No, but I wouldn't be concerned again with Bain either. I'd be concerned with that young boy. But I want it. No, we need our top team against Rangers, and that's the goalkeeper right to the sub right back. We need our top team available for that match. And no, unless the world implodes me into a black hole somewhere in the Milky Way, we're not going to be playing Seagrass.
Yeah, that's fair. That's why to just get the opinion on.
It's a good question, mate.
Yeah, because he did play the early cup games, but obviously injury stopped him from playing against Kelly. Because I have a funny feeling he would have played against Kelly if he was fit. But yeah, when you've got Rangers in the final, and as Steve says, we're in a position where we've got to win games, especially against them. And I say, I know they did it last season with their number 2 keeper and they got away with it. But you know, if it goes wrong, if Seagrass does play, then it's going to the backlash that will be sent Ange Postecoglou's way would be pretty venomous. So it's best that he sticks with what he knows is the number 1. But before I'm just waiting for some more points to come in before we do. Obviously, we've got a game coming up on Sunday, guys. We're heading up to Tannadice. Last time Celtic were there, obviously they put 9 goals past the poor hapless Dundee United, and we sent Jack Ross on his way. I believe that also happened when we beat Aberdeen 9-0. Mark McGee got sacked right after that one, if I remember right. I'm pretty sure that happened as well. So that's twice Celtic have done that in the last decade, put 9 goals past their team and got their manager sacked. But David, regarding that game, I don't think we're going to score 9. Dundee United have slightly improved from where they were under Jack Ross when we last played them up there. But do you have any worries, any reservations ahead there, or do you think we'll just got there comfortable victory and another 3 points in the bag?
The way we've been playing, I don't have any concerns. If I'm being honest, I think we'll go out there and just another job done. Hopefully, I've not really been paying attention to Dundee United's form at all. If I'm being honest, so I've got no idea if they're on a winning streak or if they're just been trotting along or they're absolutely horrendous.
Ross County are bottom now. I know that Ross County are bottom.
Right. Well, like I say, we tend to do fairly well out there at Tannadice, especially like last time, as you say. So no, I don't think it'll be a 9-0, but I think we can put a few past them certainly. I don't know if their goal scoring record's up to much with them. Is it still Stephen Fletcher as their first choice striker? I don't know if he's really been lighting up the league lately. But he didn't cause us too much issues last time, and I don't think Dundee United will cause us too many problems this time round either.
Yeah, the only thing that causes issues last time, Steve-O, was the referee giving a strange phantom penalty for Bernabei's hand behind his back. Hopefully, and as we did on a Bustalgia not too long ago, we talked about Tannadice. We've got a bit of previous up there with strange referee decisions, Dougie McDonald. So hopefully at the end of the game on Sunday on PMP, we're not talking about any VAR nonsense or nothing like that. Hopefully it's a nice, smooth, simple day at the office for Celtic and they get the 3 points, Steve-O.
Aye, absolutely. I mean, listen, it's hard to tell. See, when you play these teams like your Ross Counties, your Dundee United, and all that, you really don't know what you're getting. I dare say, like some of the commenters saying it'll maybe be tight. I'm maybe always maybe a wee bit pessimistic that way. I expect these games to be tight, and hopefully you can just undo them. I don't know where they are, but they're certainly down the bottom end and in that danger zone.
Joseph McGonigal says they're 10th just now.
Right. So their plans, and it's just going to be don't get beat, which probably means defend like your life matters on it.
Yeah.
So I think it could be a wee bit sticky, and it'll just play any team with a case of trying to break them down. Hopefully, get a goal, maybe 2 clear, and then any of this worry, VAR decisions and stuff can get put in the bin. Because it's only worry when you're at nothing each or 1-0, and then it's in and in. So just do what we do and get on with it.
Aye, indeed. Before I come to you, Mark, as well, Scott Howe with £10. Cheers, mate. Thank you very much for that. Although it came up in kind of orangey colours, I don't know how that will go down. And we're talking Dundee United being our opponents. What colour do they wear? Obviously, it's a bit Dundee United Day, that colour, as well as obviously the other connotations it has. Hopefully, that's no sign of what we're talking about right now. Dundee United are going to nick a result, but no, Mark, it should be plain sailing for Celtic. Strongest team again, and I can't really see us having much problems.
I think the previous result at Tannadice shouldn't come into play here. I think remember we beat St Mirren 8-0. I think then we get beat after the next match a few years ago, and so things like that don't really come into. I mean, if there's somebody sent me the day, it would have been a 5 or 6-0 job. I'd take 1-0. I'd take 1-0.
Yeah, of course,
I think I'd maybe look at Celtic's form just now and then base my confidence on that. I don't think we've been playing top notch. I think we've got a lot more in this team than what we've shown the last wee while since the season started up again. I think we've kind of been a bit hot and cold at times. Even the matches we're winning with a couple of goals, we've not been at our best. I think our best football is to come this season. I think we're going to hit a new level maybe towards the end of the season, which Ange said his teams normally do. They normally just go up a gear when it comes to the right important part of the season. I think we'll go out on Sunday with the strongest possible team. I can't see him dropping players. I hope he takes the game as seriously as he should, which I think he will. We might even see get a couple of minutes game time. I think he'll be on the bench. I hope he's on the bench. As I say, there's no rush to get him on, but I want to see him. I want to see Awata get game time as well. I want to see him on the bench. If we didn't see much of him against Greenock Morton, even if we did, you can't really take that into consideration against the opposition like that, I'm afraid. So I'm looking forward to it, mate. 4 o'clock kick-off. It's not great for the away fans. It's another decision by the SFA and to allow Sky Sports to dictate. But what can we do? That's just the way it is. I'm not exactly going to try and change that one. It'll be fruitless anyway. But I'm looking forward to it, mate. I'm hoping Celtic go there, just do the professional job they've been doing all season. We get the 3 points, go up the road, and then look forward to the next match.
Indeed. I believe the kick-off time is due to is FA Cup weekend in England, and Sky do not have the TV rights to the FA Cup. So what they did in the third round is suddenly they care about Scottish football, where Super Sunday isn't a double-header at English Premier League. They had to do 2 Scottish games back-to-back, because last time it was Motherwell and Hibs, then Dundee United Rangers. I'm going to take a guess it's this Hibs Aberdeen game, the El Sacchio they're calling it. Is that the game that's on Sunday early and then we're the 4 o'clock kickoff? But there's 2 Scottish games, I believe, and that's why we're the 4 o'clock kickoff, because when Rangers played at Tannadice a few weeks ago, they were a 4 o'clock kickoff on a Sunday after another Scottish game. So Sky have basically decided, we care about Scottish football this weekend, guys. Let's make it the focal point of the channel. No. Now you care. Now you care when you really need us, So
just basically I was televising a car crash and they 2 playing each other.
So we are on 4 o'clock, and that is why it's happening. It's because the FA Cup's on. Dave, I'll come to you on this point. Gary Brown's put one in, and he says at the start of the season we're talking about double figures victories, but we're not that standard now. Do you feel that we've I do understand what Gary's saying. At the start of the season, with some of the results we were clocking up, there was this idea that we could hit like double figures against somebody. But now I feel that now we're going into the business end of the season, just what Mark's saying there, like a 1-0 win will do me. If we do get a massive win, a resounding victory, then brilliant. But at this stage now, as you're heading towards the end line, you've got to just get the wins on the board. Anything else is a bonus.
I feel you can take into consideration that a very strange season that we've had. We started off the season flying, and then it gets interrupted by this World Cup, and then we had our Champions League games pretty congested together, and then after the World Cup we've had a lot of games all kind of crammed in together as well. So I think once we kind of get back into a rhythm of just playing once a week again, which we were doing at the start of the season where we were racking up ridiculous results, I think that's when we might see. I agree with them, though. I do feel that it did dip. It certainly did dip, and maybe the games we weren't playing at our very best. But I'm quite confident now that we're out of Europe. We're getting to the later stages of the season where the games are going to become a wee bit more spaced out now that the World Cup's all out of the way, and that we might start to see the flow really start to hit. We'll get our mojo back a bit, and we might start. But when the players are starting to get the confidence again, the likes of Kyogo's scoring almost in every game now, twice a game nearly. Yeah. Goals are coming from all parts of the pitch again. I do think we'll start to see that what we've seen at the beginning of the season. Another 9, and then another 9-0. I'm not so sure, but I think we'll start seeing 4, 5s, maybe 6s in the second half of the season.
And Steve, Patrick McLaughlin saying here just again about this, the we never stop mentality. No, it's not just some fancy buzz term that Ange Postecoglou coined for a t-shirt or anything like that. You look at some of these examples, like McGregor's 87th minute winner at Aberdeen, obviously the late equaliser for Kyogo at Ibrox, how crucial they're going to be. And again, it just adds that whole, like, we could go and win 5-0, 6-0, that's brilliant, but these results are the ones when you win. If you win the league at the end of the season, you'll look back on and go, that was as much of a satisfying result as putting 9 past Dundee United at Tannadice.
Aye, absolutely. Listen, who doesn't like an absolute slaughtering? Who doesn't like to just watch a goals fly in? But they're just small footnotes. They're wee show reels. The ones that actually win you the games, as you say, it's your 87th minute winners. It's your winning 1-0 at home, getting over the line. It's getting a dodgy decision against you but turning it over. They're the ones that are really, they're not the flashy ones, but they're the what matters. And I'm with Marco on this. I really don't care. See if it's 1-0 and it hits half somebody's arse and gets into the net, I'll take it. That's it. I just want 3 points. Performances are secondary at this moment in time. Once you start getting into those championship rounds, those championship games at the tail end, where you can make it mathematically impossible, you just get over the line by any means. That'll maybe give some folk ammo to say that we're not as good as we are, but it's irrelevant. Because all that matters at the end of the day is whose name's in the trophy and where you're in May. So, do you know what? I really don't care. I'll take anything at this moment in
time. Definitely. Before I look at the chat to find other points, Mark, I don't spring it on you, but have you got any bee in your bonnet, anything grinding your gears today that the judge wishes to pass judgment on?
No, but I did see something that really pleased me actually for once. I see Celtic need to help me with the name of this. The Celtic Foundation have opened up a club on a Monday and a Thursday between 5 to 7 o'clock. I think it's called.
I did see that. I'll go and look.
What's it called?
I'll go look up just now, mate.
It's a wee initiative for the Celtic. Anybody that's living locally or even further afield, they can come and get something hot to eat. Spend a bit of time inside the lounge. There's a wee bit for the kids to go and do their homework in. Whether they can get something warm, they can get a hot drink. Anybody that's struggling, I mean, I guess Celtic won't get a lot of good press with this. They probably won't even publicise it as much as what other clubs do. But I thought that was a really good thing for Celtic today because
the Paradise pit stop.
I was going to call it Paradise pit stop. It's an excellent initiative by the club. Anybody that's not seen it, just check it out. If anybody that's struggling, I don't think there's any questions asked. You just turn up at the executive entrance at the north west stand. I think it is just the back of the Lisbon lines. You'll see it. But they're saying that just turn up, no limit to numbers. I don't think as of yet. The lounge is open, it'll be warm, as I say. They've even got a quiet room for anybody who wants to just sit and just enjoy the peace and quiet. And as I say, there's a bit for the kids to go and do their homework. Brilliant by the club. I think Celtic get a lot of stick by being this modern football entity, but they stick to their roots with a lot of things. A lot of charity work the Celtic do is phenomenal. I was quite happy to see that this morning because don't forget, Celtic. I think Celtic donated something like £1 million to the local community to help them through the winter. That didn't get much press either. Celtic only wanting press, but they Celtic do bad things and the first to criticise. I think it's only fair that anybody that criticises the club when they do bad things should praise them when they do good things. This is going to be really good for folk that are living locally, they're struggling, you know what I mean? They're maybe that could be 2 nights of the week, they don't need to worry about a hot meal for them and their kids. And well done Celtic, well done Tony Hamilton. I think he's the chief executive of the foundation. Well done him. Well done the volunteers, because it's getting run by volunteers on a Monday and Thursday night. So well done Celtic. And that's sort of things that makes me proud to be a Celtic supporter when I see things like that. Because there are a lot of folk, just like myself, all you guys that are working, the rest of it, but their families might be struggling.
Yeah.
And as I say, there's no questions asked. I think you just turn up and it might be for some folk a wee bit of company, somebody to talk to. So it's, as I say, it's out there, it's online, you can find out more details, but it's Monday and Thursday 5 to 7 and it's at Celtic Park. I'm sure the information is quite out there already for anybody that wants to take a wee goosey gander at that.
Celtic have tweeted to say many people are going through challenging times just now, which is why the Foundation CFC are launching a new project, Paradise Pit Stop. Enjoy a free warm meal and a selection of hot and soft drinks at Celtic Park every Monday and Thursday night between 5 and 7 p.m. So good stuff from the club. You say, well, they get the press that they deserve for stuff like that. You know, the press are always happy to line up and kick us for something, but that's a great initiative by the club at a time when many people need it. And David, you know, just following on what Mark says there, another thing is like just for mental reasons as well. You know, just some people may just like the company, essentially, because that's something you got to consider as well. But great move by the club, isn't it, David?
Absolutely. I mean, I can't say anything more than what Mark's just said. That he's hit the nail on the head. But like you said, Phil, like it's not just obviously people struggling financially, but struggling mentally. Loneliness is a massive issue in this country, especially with the elderly, and we've got plenty of elderly fans out there that could do with, you know, just even if it's just talking about the club that they love in the stadium, just soaking in everything that's the feel-good factor that's around the club and supporting each other. And that's what really matters. And it's, I mean, like I said, there's not much else I can say that Mark's already said, but no, I absolutely endorse it, and I hope Celtic do get, not that they're looking for it, but I hope they do get the right press on this one, because like you said, they're quite happy to kick us up and down the street when they can, but when they're not willing to speak about the more positive things that are happening coming out of the footballing world, especially at Celtic, then you know the opportunity should be taken by the media, unless of course they'd rather just ask what O's favourite takeaway is going to be, you know. So it's good that we as a platform, not just us, so other Celtic podcasts out there have the platform to give the club the full backing of their decisions here.
Aye, indeed. Just another quick one for Scott Howe again. Mate, we appreciate it, but
thank you very much.
Careful, you'll
get in trouble.
Get chunks in my trunks, you know, to start a bidding war here. You know what happened the last time that one came up?
Straight to his wife, sees his bank account.
They're bidding for that.
In reply to Trebles here, does this podcast only hit bigger comments? No, we don't. No, this came up a couple of weeks ago. Somebody said something. Oh, you only get a comment on the T.N.F if you've got a membership or a star against you. No, you don't. It's just there's a lot of comments coming in, and it's just trying to get round to them. Like, we can't answer every single one of them, but we try our best.
The best way to get a comment, as a wee bit of advice for anybody, the best way to get a comment on the bus isn't always to comment on what's been said. Ask questions. That's the best way to go on the bus. I mean, if it's something that you've thought about, I mean, there was a question brought up that was put up before the show started, that Phil brought up maybe 5-10 minutes into the show. Ask some questions, put a bit of debate out there, fling something in that we've not seen already on that particular show. And it's definitely not the case about people being members, etc. Just jump in with a comment or a question, and don't forget, it's a difficult job. Like Phil's having to listen to what I'm saying, David's saying, Steve was saying, and at the same time scroll through maybe 100 messages every 4-5 minutes, whatever it is. It's very difficult to do that. So to make your comments stand out, start putting some question marks on it, ask us some questions, and spark a wee debate. Even just ask a question about something we've already spoke about. Ask us to elaborate, but that's the best way, I would say, to try and get yourself a wee mention on the show. And keep watching Trebles. I mean, anybody that watches your show, whether you're a subscriber or whether you contribute It doesn't matter to us. We're happy for anybody that takes their time to tune in and watch us. We do shows 6-7 a week sometimes, and they're all live. So anybody that's watching has got a chance to come on the show. I mean, I just record just quickly, Phil, if I can. I just recorded the Judgment Day podcast. That'll be tomorrow, 8 o'clock. That's a wee plug. But see on the community page, if you go to click on the Bhoycie Bus icon, at the very top you'll see live videos, uploads, whatever. Just scroll along, you'll see the community page, and in the community page every week we'll just ask you to put some questions to myself. Not just to me. You could put a question. Could you say, Phil, next time you're on, could you answer like where you got that towel for behind you, something like that? Because I've asked him offline after show, right? But that's a way you want to get a question across to one is. So that's every Thursday I record the Judgment Day, and it goes out on a Friday morning. So Trebles, jump into the community page after the show if you want me to ask a wee question, and we'll see if we can get it up for you next week, mate.
Trebles, it's all that Bob McBob's fault. He comes in the comments every night and everyone gets distracted arguing with him. That's the problem. Too many people are arguing with him. So I'm blaming you, Bob McBob. It's all your fault, mate.
You. I like Bob.
Comes in and he just throws grenades in there and just causes controversy, and then nobody's actually paying attention to what we're saying. They're not paying attention to what he's saying and reacting to him, and it just causes an influx of comments to come in. Although here's an easy question for the panel. Are Rangers dead?
Aye.
Yes. Lest we forget, never forget.
Indeed. Aye. Well, I suppose that's the reference to Trainspotting 2, isn't it? 16-19 scene, classic. But yeah, we will. What else can we go for? I'll go through the comments just now. Just see if there's anything. Oh, there's another one from Ryan. Are we talking? Yes, of course we are. We're still there, and we plan on being there at the end of the season, mate. That's where we plan on being. But yeah, I mean, in terms of that, we've went for an hour anyway. We usually always try and do about an hour. But yeah, we will obviously look to wrap it up in the next few minutes then. And it's not discussed, Bob. It's simply this. We're on here obviously trying to talk about Celtic. We need the comments to obviously give us some subject matter. You do keep coming in here and causing controversy, but hey, it's fair enough. I understand why you do it. I understand, mate. Ryan Taylor's got a question specifically for me. Bustalgia. I could tell you all about that because tomorrow night, I will be on for that, and I can show you what it's going to be. It's a player-specific episode other than one NFL. It's not a versus one. It's one.
Baldy.
Amido Baldi. That would be an interesting player one, wouldn't it? My God.
What did he say? I'll make you forget all about Gary Hooper.
No chance. No, the player in question, bit of a polarising one, and interestingly enough, he's still a Celtic player to this day.
Oh, James Forrest.
Forrest. Yeah, that is tomorrow night's Bustalgia topic. It is a James Forrest special, the Centurion. 100 plus goals, 100 plus assists that he passed this season. You know, he's a perfect example of a player where you've got stats that can back it up, and then other people who are just like, nah, I'm not having it with Forrest. He's a very polarising subject in the Celtic community. I find there's still a lot of fans to this day that will defend him to the hilt, and other ones that are just like, not really convinced, don't think he's all that. So I'm interested to get points of views tomorrow night.
I think that's Celtic's fault, though, Phil.
Do you feel so?
I think Celtic have contracted him into mediocrity. I mean, if you get on the tap, I think it was, who was it? Frank Sinatra says you always leave the crowd wanting more. So if you get in a high, that you remember fondly. But I think if you carry on that bit too far, folk remember the bad bits. See if this guy was playing in the 70s and me and you had never seen him play before, and he just was at an after dinner speakers event. You've gone, he scored 100 goals for Celtic at midfield and 100 assists. You'd be like, what a player! 20 medals. You'd be going, wow. But unfortunately, modern football, we don't appreciate the guys who are winning trebles and doubles and leagues left, right, and centre. He'll be remembered very fondly by Celtic supporters when he goes. I think he was right up there. I think his last since Neil Lennon took over for the half season, that was his last good football for Celtic. I think his football since then has been he's a big injury right now, but his football has been pretty poor. And that's Celtic's bad, I think, for keeping him on for that long. Albeit he stepped in at a few moments, scored in the semi-final last year, scored at the Spaghetti had, whatever you call it, last year. Yeah. So no, for me, the guy who is an iconic figure. maybe no the legend that he probably should be, but I think time makes you a legend. Nobody becomes a legend when they're in the here and now. I think you become a legend in the future.
Indeed.
Do you think he's maybe a victim of his timeline? I mean, obviously, you can only beat who's in front of you, and you can only contribute when you play. But let's be honest, he's played through, shall we say, a slightly weaker period, a chunk of his game time, and I think that maybe to some diminishes your efforts.
Yeah, you're kind of split. It's the whole die a hero or live long enough to become the villain, almost. That's kind of what's.
It's like me, mate. I'll live long enough to become a hero. I'm a villain.
You're the villain now. Scarily enough, Forrest has now been in the first team at Celtic for 13 years. It'll be this May. He debuted in May 2010. 13 years. The boy's still
sad thing,
23-year-old.
I'll tell you a sad thing about that. I'm not convinced he gets a sellout the Mora if he has a testimonial. That's a sad thing. I think I would go it, but I don't think they'd be. I don't think you'd be queuing up. I don't think to watch him play.
Who's his testimonial against? I mean, usually you can pinpoint a team or what he's played a big game against or something or some sort of relation. He's just kind of fought it through every games and done what he's done in it.
I bet he's got an English team. I bet he's got like an Arsenal or a Man U or something. I bet he's got a team that he watches every week.
You want Fleetwood? You'll be wanting Fleetwood.
Scott Brown.
Scott Brown. What if he'd go there? He probably seen that.
Select career.
Well, I've got one more talking point. I'm going to come to you, Steve, because I know that you have spoke to me and about this one from Chris Kerr. What would you change or bring in to give youth more of a chance?
You just try to extend us
compose yourself, Steve.
I'm going to sit back on this one. I'm going to sit out of this one.
Steve's got a very interesting opinion on this. Now, we covered a bit of this last week on the T.N.F. about what we would change about it. But Steve, you went on last week. What would you change regarding the youth setup?
Listen, I think it's very emotive. I'm not going to go into it too much because I'm acutely aware that exactly that. Listen, it's probably going to upset folk, right? And that's not to try and be controversial or by design. I think, unfortunately, our youth setup is a complete victim of circumstance, and I mean that from the inception of having Lennoxtown and everything to the league being a two-horse race, the expectancy levels, and just generally the way that we don't create a pathway into the team. I think it's been said a million times over, the fundamentals of getting into the team are if you're good enough, right? And unfortunately, over the years, yes, there's been guys that have come out of the youth system. Of course there is. And there's been some great successes. But on the whole, the sample size and the outcomes of guys that make a career at Celtic, there's plenty of guys that go on to other teams and forge a career, but in terms of that to us first team, there's no enough in it, and I think it's just it's a combination of A, they're just not good enough, but B, there's never been a long-term sort of succession plan. So see this idea that Ange's trying to forge where he wants everybody, similar like the Germany set up with their national team, where they all play the same system no matter what age group they're at, or theoretically you can come in and drop in. That's the initial steps, right? If Ange sticks about and this remains, you're probably not going to see the fruits of that to maybe 3-4 years down the line, right?
Yeah.
And just to sort of chop off and be concise, one, I don't think, as I said, you give guys a shot in the team just because. Unfair to them, unfair to us, and as I say, fans will expect it. But also, listen, you can talk about investment and everything else. It's just about the fundamentals of how it's set up. And it's just at this moment in time, not there and it's not good enough. But that's across the board. That's not just a Celtic problem. That's England. That's other countries. Yes, there are teams that are well known, like Dortmund, Ajax, for having youth and bringing it through. But in general, the success rate from youth to first team across every team is very, very small. Yeah. So I think it's just an idealistic, green glasses on, everything's brilliant outlook. You've just got to look at it from a business standpoint and say, do we force the issue with this if it's not working? And I think the answer is that's no. That doesn't mean you give up on it. you want to keep doing it, you try to make it better, but be more realistic. It's not an overnight fix, and we shouldn't just be forcing guys in because we feel it's the thing to do. So I reckon 3, maybe 4 years, if we maintain the pathway we're going, then you'll be able to judge it. But I don't think it's not ready. So that's me trying to be as concise and nice as I can about that.
That's fair enough. I won't be. I believe giving these guys just a chance just for the sake of it. It's about what we say, buff killed fish. We don't do that. We can't. We're not in a position to do that. We've got to. Every Celtic fan would dream of you can live vicariously through them. Essentially a youngster that comes through, he makes a grade. He's a Celtic fan, born and bred. It's a great story, but as you said earlier on, Steve, and said in there, we're in a position where we have to win every week. We can't just be promoting lots of youngsters just for the sake of it. They've got to be of a certain standard. But funny enough, tomorrow night on Bustalgia, I'll be talking about one of the few over the last decade or so that did make it from the youth team, and it just shows you. I think the average works out at maybe 1 every 5, or was it 1 in 5 or something like that? We've had McGregor, Forrest, and Tierney.
Is there a lot of big teams, but Phil, see across Europe, obviously there's exceptions with the Dutch league. Not you could probably tell me 10 teams, but is there a lot of teams that habitually win the league that have got 3, 4, or even 2, 3 homegrown players in it? It doesn't happen very often.
It's getting rarer and rarer.
I think Celtic's youth setup, I don't think it's about the youth setup. I think it's about the structure of the club. We've got to get a long-term director of football. Same with Ange can go tomorrow and the players he's signed, it's back to square one again. We've got to have a long-term vision. No for individual players or even creating a pathway just yet. We've got to get the basics right in terms of what are the big teams doing correct?
Yeah.
What's the successful youth development academies? What's the Ajax doing? Man City's probably got 500 youth players in their books. How many names going to get a game for Man City? Probably 0. But they're going by the Chelsea strategy. They'll have so many players who they'll loan out to Belgium and get £4 million back on them in the following season.
Yeah.
See if you get 20 players going for £4, £5, £6 million. The academy pays for itself and then some. See if every 5 years you get one player that plays for the first team and turns out to be a John Terry. I know you're playing for West Ham, but you get what I'm talking about. Somebody who's going to be a mainstay in that team. You've won a watch. Celtic only dissimilar to that. Celtic have got we've got an expectation in the fan base. That is absolutely spot on, right? We love to have as you say, the youth player come up through the ranks and kiss the badge and storm with a microphone and sing to the fans. We all love that, right? But that's the end product of the youth. That is the very end. The flow chart goes, and that's the very end of it. We've got to get the actual structure of how we are doing how we are creating an academy before we can start worrying about what players are coming out the academy. We've got to have a consistent formula. I don't think we've got that. We've had different managers coming in and gone, and you had Rodgers playing the under-9s, the same football as the first team. That's all well and good. But for 2 or 3 years, then it's scrapped and starting again. Malky Mackay, I think Brian McClare tried it at Scotland. They try to rebrand the full thing, just rip up the pages and just start again. Celtic need that. There's players that are going to come in and be sold for wallies or let go. There's players that are 27, 28 that have played in the Celtic youth team, been the captain in the Celtic youth team, and now they're out the game.
Yep.
They're not playing football anymore. And that can happen, but I think you can forget what players are coming through. That's a totally separate issue for how Celtic are actually running the academy and the vision you've got for the academy. You start off with your vision, and then you get the fruits of labour. That's down the line.
Yep.
Definitely. See, just to touch on that real quick, totally, Mark's echoing a lot of stuff that I was saying about long-term vision and the way that it's set out and then getting the later fruits. I think as well, part of it, is also down to the structure within Scottish football. When we done away with the reserve league, right, now it wasn't perfect, but essentially you were getting a greater mix of, almost more adult players or first team ready guys that were on the cusp, intermixed and playing each other. It was a wee bit more competitive. Now, a return to something like a proper reserve league might be better. But what I would also suggest could be a good idea is, now there's this, I can't remember, somebody might be able to tell me, the rule whereby if you play X amount of games for the first team, you can't drop down into that B team to play that sort of role.
Aye, that's a thing, aye.
So
8 games, I think it is.
Why don't they do a case of when you make a signing, right? So if you make a signing, I know teams could technically get ways around it, but I'm just trying to blow sky thinking. You sign a guy, let's just say it's O, you sign him, you have to declare immediately, first team. When he signs a contract, he's a first team player. He's registered as a first team player, and that's it. He will never drop down, right? But if you buy other guys the likes of, say it was Ben Doak you bought, right, for talk's sake, right? He's not declared, he's declared as a developmental player. That allows him to shift between both teams as frequently or infrequently as you want. So from the start, if you sign a guy, you declare him as being first team only, and he will never play for the B team. All right, that might put someone a bit of purgatory if he can't get game time, but theoretically, you should know if he's going to be in the first team picture or not, whether that's just sitting on the bench or, you know, on the park. And I think if they'd done something like that, it would allow a bit more fluidity between playing these kind of games and getting first team exposure without that hindrance, because with that 8 games or whatever, for me, that instantly puts them in the bin to getting a chance.
It does. David, I'll give you the sort of final word then on this talking point. If there's anything to add, if you feel, or do you feel that the boys have covered it pretty well? Because I'm acutely aware that you've not said anything in a wee while, mate.
I
You don't get away that easily.
No, I was quite enjoying listening to what the boys had to say. I mean, again, there's not much else to say. Like, Mark's absolutely right, and what he is saying, they're two totally separate issues that we could deep dive into on another show. You could probably spend 3-4 hours on it, I'm sure, if we have the right people on, like Terry, looking at you, mate. The other thing, I've seen it in the comment, and it's absolutely true. I mean, it's getting, and it sounds like a pure old fuddy duddy here, but it's getting harder and harder to get young boys and girls to go and actually play the sport. And that's, I think, the whole structure of the Scottish youth development and football in general needs scrapped and rewritten. I mean, I sponsor a youth team or under 15s team locally, and they've got a good group of young players, and they're doing their best to, you know, have all the age groups, as are many clubs. But the amount of money that is pumped into youth development games now is absolutely incredible. Like, just to buy kits, and that's just for the one age group. That's not talking about your under 10s and your under. It's crazy, and you know there could be so much more done to try and encourage young people to go out and play football. And that, my worry is that I mean, it's already hard enough to find talent in the pool that we've got as it is, and it just seems to be getting less and less. So if there has to be a more appealing way of getting kids to play football, and then obviously then we have to start looking at how Celtic and other clubs pick up these players and get them into their youth setup, and then start to develop them. And then we look at the structure of how, like Mark's saying, once they come of age, get into a first team setup. It goes right back to the first moment a child wants to go and play football, and that's something that the whole country needs to really look at and find a way of making it a much more appealing thing to be doing, rather than sitting scrolling through TikTok or watching guys like ourselves talking about the club that we love.
But please hit the like button if you are one of those kids. Please do.
Don't watch after. Don't watch if Mark's on. If you don't want to hear it.
I imagine you're right all over that TikTok, Mark. That sounds just when you're in it.
David Logue with that, you know, the Simpsons meme, old man shouts at cloud, you know, the fist.
Why are you not working?
I know, goddamn TikTok. You know, that's what's the blame for everything. But no, we will wrap up there, guys, because that is an hour and 19 minutes we've went for. So we'll wrap up this T.N.F. It's been another epic adventure. We've went over an hour again, but that's what happens on the show. But yeah, tomorrow night, I'm back for Bustalgia for the usual Friday night shenanigans with me, Liam, Russell, and I'll maybe get a fourth person on as well, because it's one of those player ones. There's a bit of a debate involved, and I want to get a sort of a poll going as well, which I'll have in the chat for you all to get involved in, asking a question regarding James Forrest and what his status is. Then, of course, Saturday, we haven't got a game, but what's going to happen is myself and David and Mark have spoken about this, because Russell's actually off all this weekend. He is away Saturday, Sunday, and Monday, so potentially we could have another Tuesday, Monday club again. So basically, I'm going to be the bus driver all weekend, essentially controlling everything. So Phil's schedule is now falling into place. But what's going to happen is on Sunday, we could do the Sunday Blarer and then do PMP, but that's 2 shows on a Sunday. So we're thinking of making it a Saturday night Blarer. A Saturday evening one. We'll obviously speak to the main man, Regan Stevenson, if he wants to come on for that one on Saturday night. I think that'll be good stuff. We'll get that done. And then Sunday, it'll be PMP for the Dundee United, but a bit of a later one, because obviously the game kicks off at 4. To say Russell will be back on Monday, but I don't think he'll be in any shape to do any show on Monday night. So there's a good chance that the Monday club is going to be a Tuesday club again for 2 weeks in a row. But plenty coming up on the bus. As I say, if you're a new person to the channel, hit subscribe and you'll get notifications when we go live. But guys, we're out of here. So enjoyed yourselves tonight, boys.
Yes, don't forget 8 a.m. tomorrow morning. You've got the Judgment Day premiere. Don't just plug your age show, Phil.
Sorry.
I mean, I know you like me. You just want to know the figures. But
I've still got the live schedule in my head. I keep forgetting about the pre-recorded ones. But yes, 8 a.m. tomorrow. This
I've
guy
saw
down
Stuart,
here.
mate. It took me about 10 months, but I've saw Stuart, Philip. 8 a.m. tomorrow morning.
Oh, he's called me by my Sunday name there. It's getting serious now.
Building a brand behind his back. That's what you're doing.
But yeah, do check out Judgment Day. It's always a good watch, Mark. You know,
and check out the Sunday Blarer every Sunday morning at 11.
Check out the Sunday Blarer this Saturday.
Yeah, on Saturday night. Yeah, we'll be around on Saturday night for that one. So yeah, we've got plenty coming up. So yeah, we're out here. Here is the tones of Chris Sutton, with some things to say about our rivals across the city as we head off now. We'll catch you later.
Cheers, guys.
I mean, you've all that stuff at the start. You know, they won't be playing Tina Turner on the coach on the way home, will they?
Some of his comments about me deliberately trying to cause controversy. Well, I work in the media now. And you've got someone sitting there next to you who's an embarrassment to the media profession. He's an apologist. He's a charlatan. He's a Rangers puppet. He's a cheerleader. That's what he is.